Boss strikes have been a core part of Battle Nations for years. They've been one of the biggest events in the game, one of the main reasons people log in, grind, and actually push themselves. And now, they're gone. And the reason behind it is, it's actually kind of concerning. Now, if you're newer to the game, or you've just never really engaged with them, boss strikes were limited time events that usually ran for a few days at a time. But during those few days, everything changed. You could earn huge amounts of rare currency, valuable materials, and in some cases, some of the strongest units in the entire game. And for a lot of players, this was the way to progress. But honestly, the rewards were only part of it. Boss strikes brought the community together. Guilds would coordinate, players would grind for hours, and there was always that sense of competition, trying to outdo other groups, climb higher, and prove something to your friends. And yeah, let's be real, there were definitely bragging rights involved too. So when something like that suddenly disappears, people are going to notice. So what actually happened? After the most recent event, Shroud's Revenge in late March, Alex and the development team made an announcement. Boss strikes are being put on hiatus. Now hiatus sounds temporary, and it might be, but there's no clear timeline on when or even if they'll return in the same form. And the main reason they gave was difficulty. A lot of players were struggling, particularly against the Silver Wolves, and it created a bit of a wall that people just couldn't get past. And on the surface, that sounds like something you could fix pretty easily. Just tweak the numbers, turn it down a bit, rebalance a few enemies, job done. Right? Well, not exactly. Because the real issue goes a lot deeper than that, and here is where things get really complicated. Z2 was the original developer of Battle Nations. They built the game from the ground up, they coded it, maintained it, and updated it for years. But Z2 doesn't exist anymore. After being acquired in 2015, the studio was eventually shut down completely in 2019. And that leaves the current developers, Madrona, in a really difficult position. Because what they've inherited isn't a clean, well-documented project, they're dealing with hundreds of thousands of lines of legacy code. Code that doesn't have a clear structure. Code that requires custom tools just to read and edit properly, and most importantly, code that wasn't designed to be easily adjusted by a new team years later. So when players say, just lower the difficulty, it's not that simple. This isn't like a modding game where you can tweak a few values or just add a slider. There is no slider. Every single change could mean manually going through thousands of variables across hundreds of waves and making sure nothing else breaks in the process. And when you look at it like that, yeah, fixing boss strikes right now just wouldn't be slow. It would be incredibly inefficient and realistically a massive drain on time and resources. Time that could be spent actually improving the game long term. So what are they going to do instead? From the looks of it, the focus is shifting away from quick fixes and towards long-term solutions. The team wants to build proper tools that allow them to manage and update the game more effectively, which honestly is something the game probably should have had years ago, but better late than never. They've also mentioned rebalancing promotional units. Now I'll be honest, I'm a bit torn on that. On the one hand, it makes sense, some units are clearly stronger than others, and balancing them could improve the overall experience. But on the other hand, depending on how it's handled, it could upset a lot of players who have invested heavily into those units or got lucky landing the frags. So that's definitely something that I'll be keeping an eye on. And if you want to know my detailed opinion on it, then I can make a separate video for you. And then there's the possibility of a full redesign of boss strikes as a game mode, which is kind of a big deal. Because that means when, or if it comes back, it might not look anything like what we're used to. Now in the long run, that could be a really good thing. But in the short term, it does leave a pretty big gap. So what is happening right now to fill that gap? Well, we're getting an Emperor Sandworm boss battle, which honestly sounds pretty exciting. It's something new, something different, and hopefully something that still captures a bit of that boss strike feeling. There's also going to be an increased chance of landing teeth, which might not sound huge at first, but it's actually really important. It means better AS drop training, ranking them up with the teeth and necklaces, more Bigfoot soldiers, and overall just a bit more progress for players who are trying to keep up. Especially if we do get another Black Nano event later in the year like we've seen before. And PvP is also in development, and with the current time frame is the summer, very precise, we love that, but jokes aside, PvP could be a really strong addition. Another way to earn rewards, build up SP and just engage with the game in a different way. And if it's done well, it could bring a lot of players back in. And finally, we've got a redacted boost weekend coming up, followed by some kind of boss event. Now we don't know exactly what that means yet, but events are always a good sign. And if that ends up being something like an SP boost, that's going to be huge. Because let's be honest, we are all feeling it right now. Late game units are tough, progress slows down, and any extra boost we can get is going to make a big difference. So yeah, that's where things stand. Boss strikes are gone, for now, and while the reasoning behind it makes sense, it doesn't make the loss any less impactful. The game is definitely going through a bit of a transition period right now, but if the long-term changes pay off, this could end up being a really important step forward. We will just have to wait and see. But I want to hear from you. What do you think about boss strikes being removed? Do you think they'll come back better? Or is this the beginning of the end for them? Let me know down below, and I will see you in the next one.